So I served. I got to Nicaragua when I was no. Sorry, I got to Nicaragua in July of 2015, and I finished my mission at the very beginning of December in 2016. And I served in the capital, Managua, and I served in a town called Sebaco, which is in the province, I suppose you could call it, of Esteli. And then I served in Chinandega and that's a pretty big city on the west coast of Nicaragua. And after that I served in a town called Nagarote in the province of León. And then I served it was in another town in the province area of Managua. In Nicaragua, the way they organize, cities and things like that, they don't have states and cities. When people ask you here in the States where you're from, you say the state you're from. But down there, they have the kind of state and province, group of cities, but people are from they're from the cities. So even if there's like a province of Managua, but there's also the city of Managua, and then there's other cities that are smaller that are also spread throughout as well. And so the boundaries of the mission, so there are two missions in Nicaragua. There's the north and the south, and it's split. It's split through the capital of Managua. About half of it's more like the eastern half of Managua is in the North Mission, and then it's cut in half, and then from above the left side of Managua and up is in the North Mission, because there's a big lake right there as well. There are two big lakes. There's a really, really big one that's in the South Mission, and then the North Mission has a smaller one. It's called Lake Managua. In my mission, I believe there are about 10 stakes and districts, I believe. So I think there are 4 or 5 stakes in the North Mission. There isn't a temple in Nicaragua yet. We have the plot of land has been purchased. It's set aside. We know where it's going to be, but we're not quite ready for a temple yet. So the members, whenever they go to the temple from the northern half, they usually go to the temple in Honduras, and they will, as a stake, they'll take a trip. They'll rent a bus, and they'll all bus up to Honduras and stay for a few days. Go to the temple, and that happens about once or twice a year, maybe. And a lot of the members don't go because it's rather expensive for them. It costs about $30 per person, which doesn't seem like anything. That's a nice restaurant, but for them, $30 is a lot of money. People are relatively poor. There, the economy is not as great. The money that they use is called cordobas. There's about 30 Nicaraguan cordobas to a US dollar, and it's actually amazing what $1 can buy down there. There were some weeks where I didn't have that much money because I had spent it a little bit too quickly, and I'm like, wow, what I would give for $1 US, that would buy me a lot. For about $1 US, you could feed a family you could feed a large family for a day or two. So with just rice and beans, the very typical thing that they eat. And also, the mission itself, it's very much on the west side of the northern part of the country. That's where all the big cities are, and the highways and things. There's a lot of land on the east side that there are smaller villages, but there aren't cities and there aren't missionaries there yet. We're mostly in the west side, except on the east coast. There are a lot of missionaries on the east coast, and they even they speak a different language there on that coast. It's called Mezquito, which is one of the native languages of Nicaragua. It's the only one remaining, I think, that they still actually use today, and the members there are very, very faithful. I wasn't able to go over there. It's called Puerto Cabezas, that area over there, but I can't remember if it just became a district or if it just became a stake, over there, and that was a really big moment for all the, they haven't been missionaries in Puerto for that long, and so that was a really big moment, like, wow, we have a district there. And so it's one step closer to getting a temple in Nicaragua. So the people in Nicaragua, they are primarily, they're either Catholic or evangelical, and they call it the evangelical church, or La Iglesia Evangélica. And I don't know much about that, the evangelical church here in the United States, but me being from the South, I would equate the Iglesia Evangélica to like a Baptist church, a Southern Baptist church here, that fiery passion and energy, that they have is very much the way the evangelical church is down there. And then most people are, they're born, raised Catholic. That's just kind of who they are. Even if they don't go to church, that's just, that's just a part of them, and that's a part of their culture, their core beliefs as a society is pretty Catholic. And Mormons are still, that's still kind of a weird thing for a lot of people. The biggest issue they have is they think that we worship Joseph Smith. We obviously know that that's not true, but they think that we talk a lot about him and not a lot about Christ. And we're like, well, no, we talk a lot about Christ. That's all we really talk about. And so that happened a lot with investigators. They got confused when our first lesson was about the restoration of the gospel. We were talking about how because Christ loves us, he wants us to have the gospel the way he established it always. And then we talk about Joseph Smith, and some people would have a really big issue with that. Even after they became members, some of them would start rethinking, like, oh wow, they do talk a lot about Joseph Smith, and what is this Book of Mormon? And that was another big thing we had, was that there wasn't enough focus on the Book of Mormon. Sometimes we would show it to them, they'd be like, oh, okay, interesting. They might read it a little bit, but they wouldn't really gain a testimony of the Book of Mormon. And so that was a big thing that, that I learned, was focusing a lot about Jesus Christ and focusing on how I know that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ, and how this book is the Word of God and testifies of Christ's love for us, and also supports the Bible and everything that we know about Christ because of the Bible. And they also love the Bible. And some people would like to Bible bash a little bit, but we had to remember not to keep it non-contentious. So we'd have to, take a step back, or even leave some situations if they were getting a little too angry, or a little too into what they were saying. One of the best things I was able to really embrace was being more confident in what I know about the Book of Mormon and the church. Before my mission, I was very like, yeah, I'm a Mormon. Like, yeah, I guess I believe those things. But when I got on my mission, you'd have people, just look at me and be like, well, why do you believe this? Like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. I believe this, or I think you're wrong. I think you're a devil worshiper. And I'd stand there and I'd look at them in the eyes and say, no, that's not what I am. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that this is his gospel. And those were always the really powerful experiences for me, where I could feel the Spirit testify of my words. And when me and my companion could tell that through our words, the other person felt the Spirit too. Even if nothing happened, a lot of the times we'd have amazing lessons or amazing interactions with people in the street, in their homes, but nothing would happen. But we all knew in that moment that they felt the Spirit, that they felt something, and that was the best thing, knowing that really no matter what, if the Spirit was working through me, then I was doing my job. Because people are stubborn, through all parts of the world, and if they don't want to change, they won't. But I know that I made the slightest difference in their lives by helping them feel the Spirit.